Alex Bowman is set to make his NASCAR return this weekend in the Coca-Cola 600. Is he going to get his own commercial too? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. We've got a few stories from yesterday to hit on this morning, but first, and this one's actually quite timely, this episode is sponsored by the NASCAR Hall of Fame. The NASCAR Hall of Fame just unveiled an all-new exhibit, The Anatomy of a Race Car, giving you a great behind-the-scenes look at NASCAR's new next-gen car platform. Of course, there are other great exhibits there as well, many of them commemorating NASCAR's 75th anniversary, including the all-new Glory Road, which I got to visit and explore a few weeks ago. The most recent inductees into the hall, Matt Kenseth, Herschel McGriff, Kirk Shelmerdine, each have exhibits on display in the Hall of Honor. And as always, you can test your skills on the Pit Crew Challenge and on the realistic racing simulators. The history and heritage of NASCAR racing comes to life at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina. Head to NASCARHall.com right now to plan your visit today. There are a few stories I want to touch on real quick before we get to the latest on Alex Bowman. First and foremost, Charlotte Motor Speedway this weekend, for the second year in a row, announced a complete grandstand and infield sellout. From what I understand, there are just a few select packages still available for sale, but this is great news. The Coke 600 is one of NASCAR's crown jewels. It bookends the greatest day in racing, from Monaco to Indy to Charlotte. And last year's race with this new next-gen car was fantastic. If I remember correctly, it was like 5 hours long, but it was 5 hours of edge of your seat, can't look away action. So high expectations going into this weekend, no doubt. But great to see NASCAR's attendance honestly continuing to impress these past couple of years. This is great news. Next, let's talk about a race that's coming up in a few weeks. 4th of July weekend, the NASCAR Cup Series and the Xfinity Series will take on the streets of downtown Chicago, Illinois. A polarizing event that aims to bring NASCAR's product directly to the masses, a huge new audience. And it sounds like NASCAR is hoping to fully capitalize on their investment. This tweet from Bob Pockrass yesterday caught my attention. Bob tweeted, "After the Xfinity race Saturday on the Chicago street course, NASCAR is requiring all Cup drivers to appear on the concert stage prior to the Chainsmokers concert. The concerts in the parks are part of the weekend ticket, in hopes of getting them in front of a likely new audience." I have no idea what this driver stage appearance is going to look like. Is it going to be like one at a time, two at a time? Are they going to do interviews? Or is it going to be like a big group photo? I don't know what it's going to look like, but I love the idea that drivers now on their little sheet or whatever memo they're going to get from NASCAR, it's now required that you be the opening act for the Chainsmokers. Look, drivers have been yelling at NASCAR for years and years. You need to promote us. We are your stars. We are the product. I better not see any drivers complaining that they now have a mandatory stage appearance scheduled. And I don't think I will. I think most everyone in the industry knows how big this opportunity is. Look, the racing on the Chicago street course may not be very good. Rodney Childers, Kevin Harvick's crew chief, tweeted this out yesterday, suggesting that the tight quarters, the close confines may lead to some disastrous moments, for sure. Look, anytime NASCAR tries something completely different, there's usually unforeseen consequences, but the racing may not be great. That doesn't mean the event itself will be a waste. Look at North Wilkesboro this past weekend. I think it was a huge hit, especially when you ask the 30 or so thousand fans who were in attendance. Yeah, the race Sunday night wasn't that great. Kyle Larson ran away and hid. But I think most everyone that came out went home happy with the total package, the complete experience they got that weekend. While in many ways the Chicago street race is the antithesis of North Wilkesboro, North Wilkesboro was a love letter to the longtime grassroots fans. Chicago is a journey into uncharted territory, desperately trying to attract the mainstream public's attention. But while they're different in many ways, they are similar in that I think the overall weekend event is the most important factor. The on-track racing product matters, but it's not the most important thing. What's most important is that NASCAR Cup Series drivers are once again seen as superstars. The way Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt were in the 90s, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart in the 2000s. We don't have that anymore, and the Chicago street race is an effort to get some of that back. So I think this is a great idea. I hope the drivers and NASCAR have some fun with it. Now, last bit of news before we get to Alex Bowman. Many of you have asked when these beautiful, out of the groove, Brennan Poole Xfinity Series diecast cars will begin shipping. And well, yesterday, Lionel Racing delivered some very positive news. They're in. They have arrived and will begin shipping out any day now. So if you pre-ordered one of these black and yellow beauties, be on the lookout in the coming days, maybe the next couple of weeks. These should be getting delivered to your doorstep. I really appreciate everyone's patience, everyone's support. Still can't believe this happened. Of course, we co-sponsored a Cup Series car. That diecast is still a few months away, but excited for this to be added to everyone's collection. Look, it's even got the names on the rear deck lid from folks who, the first folks who pre-ordered back in November. So that's pretty cool. Really appreciate the support. Be on the lookout. Excited to see this get out to the masses. That's incredible. My gosh. All right. Now let's discuss the latest on Alex Bowman. If you watched my video a couple of days ago, you'll know that I was a little skeptical that Bowman would be able to return this weekend. Josh Berry was listed on the initial entry list that went out, but I said it then, entry lists can change before the weekend. But between that and Bowman's comments from a little over a week ago where he said he was still feeling pain when laying down trying to sleep, I wasn't so sure that Alex Bowman would be able to race this weekend, considering it's the 600, the sport's longest race. But of course, if you couldn't already tell, I am not a doctor, and in fact, Hendrick Motorsports announced yesterday that Alex Bowman will in fact return. He will drive the number 48 car Sunday night. NASCAR has granted Alex Bowman a playoff waiver. We'll talk more about that in a second. Earlier this week, on Tuesday, I believe, Alex Bowman actually made 170 laps at North Wilkesboro Speedway. During a test that was approved by NASCAR, when drivers come back from injury, often they are allowed some amount of practice within certain specific parameters. Apparently Alex Bowman was making laps at North Wilkesboro earlier this week while all of our backs were turned. He feels ready to return, he's been medically cleared to return, and Hendrick Motorsports is ready to have their guy back behind the wheel of the 48. Let's talk about the playoffs. Alex Bowman was probably the most consistent Cup Series driver that first stint of the season. He was leading the points when NASCAR handed him and his teammate William Byron a 60-point penalty. He was still well inside the top 10 in points when he got injured racing in a sprint car event in Iowa. A compression fracture in his back kept him out of the 48 for the past, I think, 4 weeks, 3 points races. And as a result, he fell outside the top 16 in points, but not as far as many folks feared. Currently, Alex Bowman is 17th on the playoff grid, the first guy out, only 5 points below the cut line. As long as Alex Bowman is close to 100%, or at least as long as this injury doesn't really inhibit his ability to drive the race car, I think he makes the playoffs without any issue. He obviously could win a race. He's driving a Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet, but if we go back and look at those first 10 races he ran, yeah, he was super consistent. 6 top 10s the first 7 weeks. But he only led 47 laps, compared to his teammates William Byron and Kyle Larson, who've led hundreds and hundreds of laps each. Hendrick Motorsports looks like the best team in NASCAR right now, but there's a divide there. William Byron, Kyle Larson, 3 and 2 wins each, 3 for Larson as well if you include the All-Star win. But then there's Chase Elliott, who missed a decent amount of time himself with an injury, has not won a race yet, hasn't led that many laps. And then there's Alex Bowman, who's very consistent, again, was leading the points early this year, but also hasn't been that close to winning a race. So there is an interesting divide. With Byron and Larson, it's almost checkers or wreckers. With Elliott and Bowman, it's I'm going to 8th place you to death and hope that gets me to November. I'm not used to seeing that kind of divide, 2 and 2. Like with Hendrick, sometimes in the past there have been like 3 really good and then one person who's kind of lagging back. I'm not used to seeing it be 2 and 2, and especially, Alex Bowman, really good driver. I mean, might have been a championship 4th threat without that concussion. But Chase Elliott especially surprises me. He's a championship contender. He's been to 3 straight championship 4s. To see him not leading laps, not contending for wins when his 2 teammates are, that is weird. That is surprising. So I'm not really sure how I feel about Hendrick Motorsports more broadly. Byron and Larson are probably the 2 fastest guys on a weekly basis, but Bowman, Elliott are lagging behind surprisingly, but they're still good enough. Alex Bowman being only 5 points out, he's going to make the playoffs, even if he doesn't win a race. As long as he's anywhere close to as consistent as he was the first couple months of the season, he's got enough time. He can make up that difference. I mean, look who he's racing with. He's racing around guys like Chase Briscoe, who he had a good all-star race, but the last couple points races, they've been very up and down. There's Bubba Wallace, who's never made the playoffs before, but is starting to peak, I think, at the right time. There's the two RFK Fords. I really like RFK, but there's a realistic shot one of them falters and maybe falls out of the top 16. The guys right behind Bowman in points, Daniel Suarez, been very inconsistent, kind of reeling lately. Ty Gibbs, I like Ty Gibbs, but he is a rookie. Austin Cindric, he's kind of having a sophomore slump. Point is, I like where Alex Bowman is at. I think his biggest competition is going to be Chase Elliott, his own teammate, who's much further back in points. Could still point his way in, but more than likely he's going to need to win. If Chase Elliott wins and vaults himself into the top 16 ahead of Bowman, that could make Bowman's job a little tougher, but there's enough time left. There's 13 races still to go in the regular season. That's like half the regular season still to go. Bowman's going to make the playoffs. I don't think there'll be much issue there. Now, if they get penalized again, I'm just rolling through every possibility now. He could get penalized again. He could get injured again. He's suffered 2 injuries, unfortunately, in the past year. But barring any wacky, funny business, just racing straight up, Bowman's got the speed. He's been consistent enough. He's got his new crew chief, Blake Harris. I think that's a great pairing. I think he's going to make the playoffs. Before we wrap up, though, I want to talk about Josh Berry for a moment. Super substitute Josh Berry. 8 races, cup races for Hendrick Motorsports this year between the 9 and the 48. 3 top 10 finishes. He won the All-Star Open Sunday night. Obviously, he's increased his stock quite a bit. Rumors continue to circulate that he might have a new deal ready to be announced, possibly even this week, with a team that may not be related to Hendrick Motorsports or Chevrolet. Assuming the rumors are true, I think Josh Berry has earned this opportunity. I think Josh Berry did a wonderful job these past few months in a difficult situation. I still go back to last year in Xfinity, his first full-time season. Yeah, the JRM cars were great, but he still had to get it done. He made it to the championship 4 as kind of unofficially like a rookie. I have worried about Josh Berry being a little overhyped because he is Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s guy, and Dale Jr. says glowing things about him to his massive audience. But whether he's a little overhyped or not, I think the results these past couple months confirm that, yeah, he is ready to give something in the Cup Series a legit full-time try. He's not 22 years old, he's 32 years old. He may not be a seasoned NASCAR veteran, but he is a veteran race car driver, and I think he'll do great things with whatever team he ends up with in the near future. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. How do you feel about Josh Berry's performance these past few weeks? What do you expect of Alex Bowman this weekend at Charlotte? It's a long, tough race to make your return. Is he going to get a commercial like Chase Elliott did? Hey, watch this Sunday, Alex Bowman is back. I'm joking, but you and I both know the answer. He's not going to get the same treatment. Well, what are you going to do? But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. If you're new to the channel and you love NASCAR, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you to my Patreon supporters, as always, for your very generous support. I will see you again very, very soon. Lots of content on this channel. Be sure to go exploring. Been uploading all sorts of different videos the past few weeks. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.